So today we're going to be talking about cell specialization. First, let's think about what do we know already. What is cell specialization? So as a cell differentiates, it gets different subcellular structures. And when we say subcellular structures, we mean the parts of the cell inside the cell. So for example, a nucleus, a cytoplasm, these are all subcellular structures. And these different subcellular structures enable the cell to carry out a particular function. And this way, it becomes a specialized cell. So this occurs as the organism develops because it requires different types of cells to carry out different functions. For example, animal cells and plant cells. Here are 3 examples of specialized cells. So, can you label which one is which? We'll go through specifically each of the cell. So in general, some specialized cells such as egg cells and sperm cells work individually, while other cells are adapted to work as part of a tissue, which forms an organ, which then forms an entire organism. So the first cell we're going to dive deeper into is the nerve cell. And here is a photo of a nerve cell, which has the parts A to F labeled. Feel free to pause the video now and try to fill in the labels. Okay, so for A, we have the dendrite, B points to the nucleus, C is the axon, D is the nerve ending, E is the red inside bit. I know the label might look a bit confusing, but E is the cytoplasm, and then F is the cell membrane. So nerve cells are specialized cells which help to carry out electrical impulses around the body of an animal. And they provide a rapid communication system between different parts of the body. So, how are nerve cells adapted to their function? Firstly, they have lots of dendrites to make connections to other cells. And they also have an axon, and this axon helps to carry the nerve impulse from one place to another. These axons are very long. For example, in blue whales, they can be up to 25 meters long. The nerve endings or synapses are adapted to pass the impulse to another cell, or between a nerve cell and a muscle in the body. And this is done through special transmitter chemicals. These nerve cells also contain lots of mitochondria. This helps to provide energy. Remember, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And this energy is required to make the transmitter chemicals that we just talked about. So the next cell we're going to be talking about is the muscle cell. And again, I've covered up the labels, so try to take a guess as to what label points to what. So from the top left, going clockwise, we've got the protein filaments, which are the long lines. Then we've got the cell membrane, and then the nuclei, the mitochondria, and the ribosomes. So let's think about how are muscle cells adapted to their functions? So firstly, what is the function of the muscle cell? The muscle cell are specialized cells that can contract and relax. So we've got striated, also known as striped muscle cells, which all work together in tissues. And these tissues are called muscles. So muscles contract and relax in pairs to move the bones of the skeletons. So there are actually 3 types of muscle cells, and the ones we're talking about here are the skeletal muscle cells. So this helps our vertebrae move on land and in water. And also, for example, in certain animals, it helps them to fly. So one good example we can think about with the muscle pairs is the bicep and the tricep, which can be found on your arm. So when the bicep contracts, your tricep extends or relaxes. And then vice versa. When your tricep contracts, your bicep relaxes. Another type of muscle cell are smooth muscle cells. And these are the ones that you can find in your digestive system. So these help to squeeze and contract to move food throughout your gut. So right now, let's think more specifically about the skeletal muscles. And skeletal muscles have 3 main adaptations. So firstly, they contain special proteins that slide over each other. and this helps make the fibers contract. The second adaptation is that they contain lots of mitochondria. Again, similar to the other cell we were talking about, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So this helps to produce lots of energy, and the energy is needed for chemical reactions to occur as the cell contracts and relaxes. Lastly, another adaptation of muscle cells is that they can be used to store glycogen. Glycogen is a chemical that can be broken down and used during cellular respiration by the mitochondria. And respiration occurs in order to obtain energy, and this energy is required for the fibers to contract and relax. So let's recap on what is the equation for respiration. So respiration takes in glucose and oxygen, and it releases energy as well as carbon dioxide and water. The last type of specialized cell we're going to be talking about in terms of animal cells is sperm cells. So again, I've covered up the labels. Try to fill in the blanks. Okay, so from the left to the right, we've got the tail, which is also known as the flagellum. And then this gray liquid is the cytoplasm. Then outside it, we've got the cell membrane. In the middle bit is the mitochondria, and at the head, we've got the nucleus. So, what are sperm cells? First of all, let's talk about their function. Sperm cells are usually released a long way from the egg, and they are responsible for fertilization. And sperm cells contain genetic information from the male parent. Depending on the type of animal, sperm cells need to move through the water or through the female reproductive system in order to reach the egg. And once they reach the egg, they have to break into the egg in order to allow fertilization. So to carry out this function, sperm cells have several adaptations to make this all possible. Firstly, it has a long tail which whips from side to side, and it helps move the sperm through the water or through the female reproductive system. Secondly, the middle section is full of mitochondria, which again is used for energy, and this energy is required to move the tail in order for it to work. Then we've also got the acrosome, which is unfortunately not in our diagram here, but the acrosome is found at the head, so it's in front of the nucleus. And here is where we've got a storage of digestive enzymes, which are responsible for breaking down the outer layer of the egg in order to allow fertilization. Lastly, sperm cells have a large nucleus, and this large nucleus contains genetic information to be passed along to the child or to the fertilized egg, which then becomes the zygote. So that's it for the specialized cells in terms of animal cells.